Hello, everyone, and welcome to Heart Healing Conversations with Dawn and Janna, where we talk about the messy things, the difficult things, the transitions, the grief, the loss that we all experience in life, and we normalize our emotions. And today, I want to share something that's happened in my community this past weekend because I think it's a part of grief that isn't spoken about much, and I want to really give some voice to what happens when we are a bystander. Um, Many people think, well, this isn't happening to me. I just saw it happen, so I shouldn't experience all these emotions, and they push them down. But the truth is that when we watch something that's painful, it does create a lot of conflict inside of us. And so this weekend, for Memorial Day weekend, many people are camping. We live in a very small community. And at a local campground, a young child, was hit by a vehicle. And there were many campers that helped at the scene until first responders got there and Life Flight got there. And sadly, she passed away. And so we've had many conversations in the past few days because people were there. People witnessed this. People saw what was happening. They saw what happened to this little child, and they experienced conflict inside. The oh my gosh, how could this be happening? My heart is broken. I can't imagine what the family's going through. And also but this isn't happening to me, so I shouldn't be feeling those emotions. And that's absolutely not true. We witness so many things during our lifetime that hurt our hearts. But I think many of us were taught to just keep moving forward. But we can't just do that all the time because it stays in our thoughts, it stays in our heart, and it brings up a lot of different things for us as humans.
Yeah, I my heart goes out to the people that were involved with that. That's really hard just from a parent's side, knowing that that had to happen, as well as from people just watching completely helpless, can't do much. It's a really hard place to be, but I'm glad that you bring this up because by nature, we're designed to be in community. And
Mhm.
when we have those feelings of, well, I don't even know these people, or I don't, I shouldn't feel bad because this isn't my situation, but it is your situation. You just saw that. You witnessed something horrible, and you by nature feel all of those, whether it be, anger and sadness and just overwhelm from seeing that bad thing happen, not just to somebody you don't know or somebody you do know, but to you as well because you witnessed it. And like you said, we do have to normalize that it's okay to grieve that because otherwise that does stack up so quickly. And people going to work this week might have, a bad day, especially coming back, say today, first day after the weekend, and not realize why they just don't feel right. And, they're agitated and I can't concentrate. What's wrong with me? Well, you
Mhm.
had a rough day, and you didn't kind of come open and recognize that and talk about it because seeing something that tragic hurts us and affects us all, whether we want to admit it or not.
Absolutely. I mean, most of us aren't taught how to navigate that type of grief, right? Or any grief for that matter. But, um, sometimes we hear things like, well, this isn't your family. So, like move forward. But it brings up, if you have a child thinking about, wow, that could happen to my child. How would I
Mhm.
feel if something happened to my child? And then a lot of feelings about the person that was driving the vehicle. At first there was
Yeah.
rumors being spread. They left the scene. They didn't leave the scene. How might that individual feel? I mean, knowing that this was an accident and this child didn't survive. That is a huge, huge weight to carry. And so my heart goes out for that individual as well, and the
Yeah.
family, and all the families that were up there. This individual, that one of the individuals we talked to said, so many people just packed up and went home because
Yeah.
they didn't know how to deal with their emotions.
Hmm.
And my husband had the chance yesterday at a Memorial Day event to actually talk to one of the first responders who said the ones that were on the scene are having a very difficult time. And so he offered resources. He offered to go speak with them and just provide support. Um, I think that many times in those type of careers, you know, they're expected to just keep moving forward. I know that from being a nurse, like keep pushing forward because, you need to be showing up strong and capable to help the next person. But when we aren't given tools to process our emotions and our grief, we cannot be 100% present. We're distracted. Our hearts are hurting. We're thinking about what if that happened to my family member? Um, and thinking about what that family must be going through. And so, I think this is just a great conversation to have to normalize the grief that we experience when we're bystanders. It happens in the military, it happens in healthcare, it happens for first responders, it happens in everyday life. We see things, we come upon something, and it might not be happening to us, but it's happening around us. And we need to give ourselves grace. Like it is normal. Like we have human hearts that feel. We don't want to see people hurting. Even if it's not somebody that we know, it's a complete stranger. We still don't want to see others hurting. It hurts our heart. And, you know, just allowing ourselves to talk about what's going on and to process it versus just stuffing it down like, well, this is somebody else's issue. This isn't mine. It is. It is part of your life. It's affected you, and it's going to affect how you parent. It's going to affect how you show up for your spouse, how you show up at your job, how you navigate life. This has become part of you. So, what do we do with those emotions?
And this is a great reminder, I guess, for everything that's going on in the world today, because one little thing like that, your mind is already kind of in a rough state, overthinking all the what ifs and if that was my family or my children and that kind of thing. And then, like we've talked about before, what if you jump on social media now and now you see a bunch more negative stuff, or somebody else got into another accident, and that really compounds and really makes you feel worse too. And my heart really does go out to everybody involved, first responders especially with that, because many of them had to respond to something. They probably have kids that are same age type of thing, and that's a whole different place to come in from, trying to save a life when you want to be at home holding your own child.
Mhm.
I know, just as a parent for myself, seeing something like that completely changes the trajectory of my thought pattern and how I'm watching and taking care of my children. Like, okay, no, you guys can't go over and do this. You can't do this because you need to stay here where I can keep you close and safer to me. It's really, really hard when we get into those kind of situations and those thought patterns, especially if we don't deal with the grief side of it and our feelings and emotions. It's so important, and it's hard work, of course, like everybody there. I wish they had these tools where they could have sat down, collectively in their campground with their families and said, I'm sorry, what are you feeling right now? Let's talk about
Mhm.
this, because I know there's a lot of other little kids and stuff that were out there playing that were a part of this, and like they won't have an opportunity to deal with it, and it's going to come back for them many times in life. And one thing I know that's most important, and we talk about this a lot, is finding a safe place, your own circle to hold these important conversations with, even if it's just you journaling some of these thoughts. It's so important to get this stuff out.
Yeah, I I really agree. I mean, I know there were kids present. I mean, so many people were affected by this. Um, and if you know someone who has witnessed something that you can tell is weighing heavily on them, you know, ask some questions. Because if we just ask, how are you doing? People are going to say, I'm fine. I'm okay. It wasn't my family. But like, dig deep. Like, I understand this was something you just witnessed, but I'm guessing it's bringing some things up for you. You have a child the same age, or, you have a family, something, ask questions where the individual feels like they can open up a little bit and tell them, like, it's normal to be experiencing conflicting feelings and grief right now because you just witnessed something that the human brain and the human heart have a hard time processing. How could this happen? Right? And so just getting people to open up and to talk a little bit and being a safe space, not needing to fix it because the truth is, like Janna and I talk about all the time, you can't fix it, but you can listen and you can just listen so they feel heard, not to offer advice. I mean, yes, if you feel like someone needs some support from a professional, definitely that's okay to suggest. But other than that, just allow them to be heard. And if you're the one that witnessed something that's weighing on you, finding those people, like you said, Janna, to just have those conversations and say, this is really hard for me. And sometimes we don't know why it's bothering us. But what I've found over time is oftentimes it brings up something that's happened to us in the past.
Mhm.
And it doesn't have to be a very similar situation, but it was, oh, I remember the time that I didn't know where my child was. He was out playing and I couldn't find him, or something like that, right? That fear of
Yep.
a loss, because we all experience that.
Yeah. Loss definitely is one of those that sticks with us no matter how much healing work we do too. So
Mhm.
even if you have this safe space and you can talk about it and you kind of are feeling better about the situation now, next week when, somebody slams on their brakes in front of you and you have a close call almost running into somebody, those feelings come back again, just like you're talking about, coming back from a previous situation. And again, you're gonna have to pull over and just sit and breathe for a little while you try to catch some ground or something to make you believe that it's okay. And then we try to normalize that one too. And so it's such a horrible cycle that we put ourselves in, not allowing ourselves to have grace and understanding and saying that it's okay that we have these emotions, because nobody, honestly, like you said, none of us have been taught how to deal with them. And if I can just tell people how important it is, even though you're afraid of, what somebody else might say or how they might try to fix the situation, it's so important to feel what you're feeling. Even if you don't understand it and can't put it into words, just taking time to sit and actually think about it and reflect on it, like, what actually happened, and why am I feeling this way? Is it because, I have kids or I have grandkids, or what is connecting you to it and making you feel that way?
Yeah. I mean, I'm thinking about yesterday was Memorial Day. We all know that. And,
Yep.
um, Memorial Day for veterans is a difficult day because people are out celebrating, they're having barbecues. And unless you're a veteran or you're really patriotic or you've had family members that have served, um, you don't really understand like the depth of the pain that surrounds this day every year. And there's probably no veteran alive that has shared every single story that they've experienced, everything they've witnessed, because it brings up a great deal of pain. And oftentimes, other people, especially those who haven't served in the military, they'll never understand, right? Unless you've gone through something, it's really difficult to understand. And for many of us, like myself, who hasn't been in the military, even though my husband is a veteran and my grandfather was, I can't even picture myself in some of the situations that my husband's told me about, right? And so, another great example of watching things from the outside or participating in some way, trying to help someone else and not having the tools to process that, but yet trying to continue moving forward because that's what we do in life, right? That's what we're taught. Keep moving forward, be strong. There's somebody else that's going to need your support or your attention. So, you can't wallow in this pain. But the truth is, we do. I mean, it's so ingrained in us. It's ingrained in every cell of our body. And until we process it, until we talk about it, and we use tools to navigate through it, we're still going to sit with that pain and it's going to affect us. It's like we talk about all the time, there's going to be these triggers. And so, just some reminders today, like be super gentle with yourself. If you witness something that, breaks your heart, like be with that. Be okay with expressing your emotions. Talk to someone who feels supportive. Journal, like we talk about all the time. But don't stuff that stuff down because it will affect other aspects of your life. And none of us humans are expected to be emotionless. Like
Hmm.
Janna and I have talked about AI recently. That is emotionless. There is no human heart. But anything that has a human heart is going to have feelings. And so we need to normalize that so that we can all support one another. If something happens in your community, band together, support one another through these difficult times versus, just staying behind your closed doors and not wanting to reach out to people because you don't want to bother them. The fact of the matter is, we all thrive when we have community and connection versus feeling alone.
Yeah. I'd also encourage anybody that's got children, when you do go through these kind of events, please take the extra time to sit down and hold conversations with them about what happened, about what they saw, about what they felt, because our kids, especially, are very honest, but they
Mhm.
also need to learn tools on how to process and move forward. And so we are the best example by helping them and teaching them these helpful skills so that they can actually talk about things and feel safe talking about them too.
Absolutely. And, the Grief Recovery Institute wrote an amazing book. It's called When Children Grieve. And what it does is it helps parents, it helps educators, anyone that comes in contact with children, it helps them encourage children to talk about their feelings, teach them ways to navigate them. I mean, I wish when my son would have been little, I would have had this resource. But, you know, my husband and I were just about ready to launch the youngest of our children, and he is so emotionally intelligent because we have used these skills with him. He knows how to navigate things in a much healthier way, and he knows how to help other people. So the book's on Amazon, When Children Grieve, amazing book. Pick up a copy. But Jana and I, we always talk about this. You can schedule a chat with us just to provide support. And it's not a pressure sales call. What it is, we're both dedicated to helping people navigate difficulties in life, life transitions, grief, loss, because we all experience it. But most of us are suffering because we don't have the tools. We don't have someone who understands how to just listen and hold space for us. So reach out to either one of us, schedule a call. Remember, you're not alone. We both are super willing to have conversations with anybody that wants support right now.
Absolutely.
So, with that, my friends, we'd love if you have any thoughts about this show or any of them, to leave comments. If there's anything you want us to talk about, also leave comments, subscribe to this channel so you can, get notified when we have a new episode coming out. And we will plan to see you again next week. Take care, friends.
Thanks, everyone.